The rain had not stopped for 3 days when Ethan Cole arrived at the broken farmhouse, carrying nothing but a leather bag full of unpaid debt papers and the weight of a promise he had made long ago. Mud clung to his boots, the sky growled above him, and the wooden gate hung crooked like it had given up years ago. He wasn't there to offer mercy. He was there to collect what was owed. But the moment he stepped onto that dying farm, he realized this debt would cost far more than money. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a moment to like this video, comment below where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes people can change, and subscribe to Kindness Space for more emotional stories that stay with you. Ethan had spent 7 years collecting debts for the Blackwood Financial Agency. It was cold work, simple. People borrowed and Ethan made sure they paid. If they couldn't pay, he took what was left. Land, cars, homes. Whatever was necessary. Over time, Ethan had hardened himself against tears and excuses. Life had taught him that sympathy made men weak, but this farm was different. The file in his hand belonged to Thomas Hale, a farmer who had borrowed heavily after 2 years of failed crops. The debt had grown too large, and Thomas had vanished 6 months ago without a trace. Ethan's orders were clear: claim the farm and recover whatever assets remained. The farmhouse looked like it was barely standing. Faded white paint peeled from its walls, and the fields beyond it were dry and cracked despite the rain. There was no livestock, no machinery worth taking, just silence. Then the front door opened. A woman stepped out. She looked exhausted, her face pale and thin, her hands rough from labor. Her clothes were simple, worn at the edges, but her eyes held something Ethan hadn't expected: strength. Behind her stood 2 children, a boy no older than 10 and a little girl clutching a torn blanket. Her name was Clara Hale. Ethan explained why he was there, expecting the usual begging or anger. But Clara didn't cry. She listened quietly. Then she made him an offer: not money, not property. She asked him for 30 days to save the farm, 30 days to prove her husband's debt could be repaid another way. Ethan almost laughed. 30 days would change nothing. The land was worthless, the crops were dead, and Thomas was gone. But then Clara said something that made him pause. She told him Thomas hadn't run away. He had left to find work in the city after promising he would return with enough money to save everything. That was 6 months ago. No letters, no money, nothing. Ethan didn't believe her story mattered. A debt was a debt. But as he looked at the children standing barefoot in the cold, something old and buried stirred inside him. A memory of his own childhood, when men had come to take his father's house after his death. He gave her the 30 days. It was against company rules, but something in Clara's eyes had convinced him. As the days passed, Ethan stayed nearby in town, checking on the farm. He expected to see failure. Instead, he saw Clara fighting. Every morning before sunrise, she worked the fields alone. Her hands bled from pulling weeds and repairing broken irrigation lines. Her son, Noah, helped carry water buckets. Her daughter, Lily, planted seeds with tiny shaking fingers. The farm was broken, but they refused to surrender. Ethan watched from a distance. He told himself it wasn't his problem. But one evening, when a storm ripped apart their barn roof, he found himself riding back to help. Clara was shocked to see him. Together, they worked through the night, nailing wood under flashes of lightning while rain soaked them to the bone. For the first time in years, Ethan felt useful for something other than destruction. Days turned into weeks. He began helping more, fixing fences, repairing tools, teaching Noah how to patch old machinery. At night, he shared meals with the family: thin soup, dry bread, whatever Clara could make. It reminded him of something he had forgotten: home. Slowly, Ethan learned the truth about Clara. She wasn't weak. She was carrying everything alone. Her husband had left her with debt, broken land, and children to feed. Yet she never cursed him. She still believed Thomas would return. That faith puzzled Ethan. He had stopped believing in people a long time ago. Then one day, Ethan went into town and discovered something that shattered everything. Thomas Hale had been seen months ago, not working, not struggling, drinking, gambling, living under another name. He had abandoned his family. Ethan sat in silence after hearing